becoming overconfident. I'm becoming complacent about complacency.
I think you are.
Oh, he's not the Messiah. He's just a very naughty boy.
Yeah, I've got big ears.
Brian just wanted to see anyone. Piss off.
That's the one. Because you literally complete me. And we complete each other.
You've obviously encountered discrimination in your own life by virtue of being Australian. So,
Hey, Manuel Kant was a real pissant who was very rarely stable.
I don't want to get too gushy, but I might just be saying you complete me, Dean. PNG now stands for Pritchard and Good.
Branding is not a bad blind date.
Look at you! You are insane!
How did I do that?
You're
How did I do
insane!
that?
You're insane!
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to your Monday. Welcome to your week. My name is linktr.ee/jaffejuice. Just kidding. My name is Joseph Jaffe. I am your host, and I am thrilled because I am the thorn amongst the proverbial roses, because my guest today is Rose Cameron, and maybe I need to just send a little note to my wife just to say the chemistry and the rapport that Rose and I have is very special. But you know, maybe I'll even get my wife on just so she can see that Rose is one of my professional, I would say, soulmates. Don't know why, just is. We have amazing rapport. Although we were kind of laughing a little bit in the background because we're used to actually hearing each other, not seeing each other. So we have to get used to that. I don't know whether the brand of lipstick she put on is good or not. I just said yes, thumbs up. It's good. Go for it. My mom is here. Hello, Ma. And Stephen Rubin is here. And Chris, yes, they're always recorded. I know Kevin was saying, will this episode be recorded? Yes, it will. It's available on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, even Twitch. I have a few followers on Twitch who are generally asking me if I want to pay for followers. The answer is yes, always. I prefer to get them for free, but I'll pay for them too. Anyway, let's get on with the show because today is Fat Blogging Day. And you know, there's always a bit of a pep in my step, if you will, when the scale is kind to me. On February 8th, I was 189.1. On February 15th, 185.4, and February 22nd, 182.8. So what has happened to the weight, you might ask? The answer is I have no idea. No, I do have an idea. Three things. One, cutting down, as I've said to you before, from half a bottle of red wine to one glass during the week. Two is actually less exercise, not more. I was on the Peloton every single day, and I think it was just too much, and a little bit of rest has helped. And third is intermittent fasting, and that definitely has made a difference. Every day for the last 2 weeks, I fast for 20 to 21 hours, and then I eat for roughly 3 hours, and it is making a difference. I have energy, I have mental acuity. That doesn't mean I'm intelligent, it just means I have acuity. And I just want to kind of show you, to take it one step further, what you're seeing is my life. My life with weight is a tumultuous relationship. You can see the yo-yo-ness, the yo-yo mar of my yo-yo weight. Up and down. But in COVID, from last year, you can see I lost 21.5 pounds. Some of it came back, and then I was able to nip it in the bud, and I'm happy too. The interesting thing is I have not been below 183 pounds since December 27. So you can see how after 6 weeks, the struggle just to get back into the zone, but I'm there. But enough about my weight. Let's talk about the fact that today is Be Humble Day. It is a day to be humble. Do we need one day a year to be humble? Can we not be humble for 365? Maybe what we actually need is one hubris day, like it's National Hubris Day. Today is the day to be arrogant, overconfident, and insolent. Maybe that's what we should be doing. We should not need one day a year to be humble. But as I said, I would advocate strongly for a hubris day. Only if and only if we could be hubristic for just one day and only one day. One person who has no hubris in her whatsoever is my guest today, is Rose Cameron. She is a global brand strategist, innovation practitioner, and cultural anthropologist, which means that she's a doctor of anthropology. No apology necessary at all. But she is a smart, strategic thinker. She makes it her business to understand human beings, how they act, why they act, and gain insight into those often irrational and unpredictable behaviors. Tomorrow, Donnie Salazar, then Julie Rame and Chris Fuller will round out our single interviews. And then on Friday, Brian Solis, Bob Norp, Kuda Biza, and Melanie Diesel come in for our community show. Last Friday, we actually did the after show exclusively on Clubhouse. We're going to keep doing that on Friday. I like the idea of focusing Fridays on Clubhouse, but the rest of the week we will continue to do our show for now on Zoom. I really do love seeing people. Even though everyone is going gaga over audio, I still believe in video. I still believe in sight, sound, and motion. It is still the richest way to connect, to collaborate, to create, to communicate. Today, right after the show, I will be doing Brands on Clubhouse, my weekly commitment to this conversation. Tomorrow, pivoting, the reinvention of brands, careers, and life. Let's make that a little bit bigger for you because I'm sure you can't even see that. And then on Wednesday, minimum viable person, the profit motive, part of my commitment to the startup community. Well, let's do birthdays out there. I decided to highlight just a few. Stacey Uriah, Trevor Caden turning 50 today, Lauren Goldshaw, and Joe Gallagher. Joe Gallagher passed away a while ago. His Facebook profile is still active. And so it's his birthday today. Joe, rest in peace. We remember you fondly. We love you. And no doubt we're going to be talking about this and related matters on the show today. Keisha Fonda, her birthday was is today. Noah Breyer, Jonathan Adams, Charlene Lee, and Ray Inamoto. Happy birthday to you guys. And then on LinkedIn on Saturday, Matt Moog, Nadine Dietz. On Sunday, Andy Weedlin, and finally today, Jason J. Sosa. Well, let's get into our seated soliloquy. That's what happens when you're trying to be too alliterative too quickly. The seated soliloquy today is called, I Wish You Long Life. 2 weeks ago, today's guest, Rose Cameron, lost her husband. Like so many people have done pre-COVID, but certainly during the past year, she shared a loss online via social media. Rose, like her name suggests, is a rose in every sense of the word, minus the thorns. I'm sure they're there, but I've never encountered them personally. She's so wise, thoughtful, smart, bubbly, deep, and basically awesome. We could have talked about so many things today, but it was this that stopped me in my tracks. And I wanted to focus on it as the main topic of conversation. Why? Well, because we don't do it enough. I want to level set for a moment. There is so much death around us right now. We are at 500,000 deaths in the US from COVID and 2.5 million worldwide. The fact that I'm even rounding up slightly reflects the insanity of how a life has become a data point, a statistic, or a rounding error. There is so much death around us right now. Perhaps I didn't notice it before, but now it seems like every other day I'm reading about another loss. Yes, I'm approaching that phase in my life where sadly my friends' parents are passing away of old age and age-related reasons. But like so many things in life, and this is a marketing thing, when you aren't aware of something, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. And then when it's part of your consideration set, it's just all around you. You can't escape it. You can't get rid of it. At the beginning, I went out of my way to like write something personal and thoughtful on every Facebook wall, even to people that I didn't know particularly well. Thoughts and prayers has never really sat particularly well with me. Then it just got to the point where I found myself typing something that may as well have been a cut and paste. It wasn't, but it might as well have been. But you know what? It didn't come across that way. This really is one of those times where it is the thought that counts. I can only imagine what it must feel like to receive the outpouring of love, sympathy, and support that sadly has become commonplace. Hundreds upon hundreds of messages that are almost impossible to manage. And yet, even in grief, I've been surprised by how many people respond almost immediately with just the two simple words, thank you. There's nothing normal about the times we're living in, but if there's anything that has prevailed through all of it, it's our humanity. And so to all those who have lost loved ones over the past year, as it is our Jewish custom in South Africa, I wish you long life. And of course, I wish Rose long life as well. I'll wish her in person in just a moment. But let me tell you a bit about her. And she has such an amazing background, so I hope you will indulge me as I go through this bio. Rose is a cultural anthropologist, global brand strategist, and chronic puzzle solver who usually spends about 200 days of the year traveling the world. I'm imagining that is down to 2. Her focus is on defining a brand's meaningful purpose with its constituents and then working with them to best address that purpose across all levels of the company and customer experience. Rose is frequently invited to speak on the trending subjects she monitors and on which she reports: millennials, centennials, evolving gender roles, technology, observational research, and change management. On gender, Rose was one of the first US planners to advocate greater investment in marketing to women, as they hold 80% plus of households' financial decision making. I'm surprised it's that low. Her global research into modern men in 2005 laid the foundations for a reinvention of how men are represented in media. She identified the emergent majority of men self-identifying as fathers versus power brokers or metrosexuals. Rose is a proud graduate of the University of Glasgow, Scotland, in theatre and sociology, with a specialization in cultural anthropology. Rose and her daughter Ari have been avoiding COVID-19 in their home, tucked into the rolling hillsides and verdant, happy valleys of central Pennsylvania. Help me welcome her onto the show. Rose, the flower of Scotland, welcome to Corona TV.
Hello, my darling Joe Jaffe. How are you?
Love that voice. Could we do the entire interview now with our eyes closed? Just like on the bean card. That's how we've really interacted for, I don't know, the last couple of years.
Well, I'm loving what's the kind of Rasputin thing that's going on right now with you. It's fabulous.
It's more like Rumpelstiltskin than Rasputin. I'll tell you, one person that does not love this is my wife, but it's growing.
I know it's growing. Are you going to go for the full beard here?
I don't know what I'm going to do, but I can just tell you the one way to get me to not cut the beard is to tell me to cut the beard or shave the beard, but I am trying to like shampoo it now and massage it a little bit. So
oils.
Yeah, I don't know what's working, but thank you, I appreciate it. So I wanted to do that in person, which is to wish you long life. We're going to talk about everything, including this religion crossover that you're bringing to the table. But let's not go with black as our background, because there's nothing dark or macabre about this conversation. So we'll go with this for now, and then we'll play around with other things that I have in store for you.
That's working for me, actually. Yeah, it's good.
Rose, lots of comments coming in. So my mom says don't cut the beard, by the way. Amanda Sloan is here. She says, love you, Rose Cameron. And Adam says, Tom says, I'd love to see the beard go full Gandalf, Dumbledore, or Duck Dynasty. My good friend, the 1101 experiment, Paul says, all beards begin as not shaving. That's another human insight, right? And Adam John says, oh my God, I love the voice, accent, warmth, and joy just embedded when you're speaking, Rose Cameron. How about that?
Well, I'm single, Adam.
There you go. Well, good news. Adam will be in the Zoom after show, which will be a matchmaking session for you, Rose. Christian Baum is here and says, hi, Rose. Chris Brogan says that's quite the intro. So lots of comments. Appreciate them. Keep them coming. We'll bring them into the show. Rose, before we get into the other stuff, I always love doing fun facts. And, you and I know each other, but do we really know each other? Do we really know the history, the seedy underbelly of Rose Cameron? Figuratively, I might add. I'm not quoting at all literal seedy bellies under them or anything untoward. Rose, here's what we found out about you, which is that you succumbed. You finally gave into the pressure, and you bought yourself an Aussie Doodle from Ohio. What is his or her name?
Her name is Coco. She weighs about 11 pounds now, so almost a stone. And she's fierce. She's a fierce dog.
She's a fierce dog, just like her owner, no doubt, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the question is, has she gotten in your way, quite literally causing you to take a fall or a stumble? Because if not, maybe she doesn't need to, because it seems like you've been doing that quite a lot lately, right? So you currently right now are, I guess you're an antenna right now. You could be a Wi-Fi router or a cell phone tower. You have two staples in your head due to a super dumbass fall during the recent snows. What's been going on in your life? Why can you not stay vertical?
I've always found that when you're going through a great deal of change, your brain is firing so fast, right? That these basic things like bodily movements get all screwed up. And this was literally, there's a lot of snow, as you know, happening in Pennsylvania, Texas, everywhere right now. And I stepped off the front step and just flew into the air, smashed my head against the side of the house where there's this big electrical box coming out. I mean, it was the full on feeling nauseous. And the dog's like standing there like this, staring at me and going, you're a dumbass. It was really
wasn't me.
Yeah, exactly. So
I ate your homework, but I did not cause you to fall. But it's interesting what you say there, Rose, which is kind of when everything is going on in your life,
yes.
Even simple things like putting your left leg in front of your right leg and trying to stay upright can be compromised. How much of what's been going on do you think actually was responsible for you falling versus you just being a klutz?
Probably about 400%. 400%. Because
rounded up to 401%.
Yeah. You are so compartmentalized because of what you're dealing with, how you're dealing with it. And I have so many different stimuli coming in because through this whole time, I've been working this whole time, right? And I also have a daughter who has autism. So, and then I've got a new puppy that I'm trying to train because the person who it was purchased for has died. So, and the puppy is in incredibly deep mourning. It's really fascinating to watch. So yeah, all of that at play. It's kind of, there is no space. If your body's natural cadence goes off, you're buggered and you fall on your butt.
But but obviously, you get knocked down, you stand up, you move forward. I've been just amazed, and we'll talk about that in a moment, of how not just resilient you've been, and how you just keep moving. You don't stop. But the resilience has been incredible. The positivity, and fearlessness. I mean, you really are fearless. At least that's what you project.
Thank you, darling.
I don't know what goes on inside. I imagine it's a hot mess inside.
It's like, screaming squirrels, like, ah! Yeah, but no, actually it's pretty good.
Screaming squirrels.
Screaming squirrels. Yes.
That's
screaming squirrels inside.
That is a great image. Multimedia sensory overload image. So I have some bad news and I have some good news. Well, it appears the bad news is Adam John is happily married, but Paul McFarlane though is, and I am a single McFarlane,
No, yeah. Oh, the experiment is a McFarlane.
Yeah, I think that probably sums up Paul very well. He is the human version of an experiment, and I mean that with peace and love. And Rob Di Giovanni. Yeah, I mean,
you got to do the hands with it.
Rob Di Giovanni. So good to see your lovely face.
Oh, he's such a good man. This is one of the nicest, best men in the industry. No question.
So
no question.
We've all worked together in some capacity, in some way, shape, or form.
Did you work with Rob?
I did.
You are so lucky.
I believe I did.
Is my
I think I did. He might be like, I don't know who this guy is. I'm only here because I clicked on Rose's promotion. Oh, he's enjoying the Rob Di Giovanni. So Rose, you were due to come on the show a while ago, and he's blushing, by the way. And obviously I found out that your husband had passed away. And, there was something about what you said, even as one of the things that's on your mind, because that's the question I asked, what's on your mind? And you actually said, and I'll read to you what you said, husband died 2 weeks ago, can talk about what is a good death now and how to celebrate a person's life during lockdown. And it prompted me to write this. What is a good death now? How do you celebrate a person's life during lockdown? This is obviously taking your words and just putting it together. I'm honored and humbled, we can talk about this today, that you've given me permission to broach this, because I would never do it without your permission. As you talk about these times we're living in as the largest social experiment ever conducted by clearly a sadistic God, or the lack thereof, or maybe not, or maybe a compassionate God, who knows. I want to just give you the floor to talk about whatever you want to talk about in terms of your husband, his loss, dealing with it. And I think one of the things is we've just witnessed so much at the moment. We've witnessed how many people have not been able to say goodbye to their loved ones in hospital. We've seen how many people in hospital have been unable to say goodbye to their loved ones through a cell phone, through FaceTime. We've just seen so much that we've had to deal with. And there is the idea of sudden loss, of expected loss, but not being able to just be there in person, and then having to deal with funerals and everything. So I want to give you the floor. Take as long as you need. I will not say another word until, as they say in Clubhouse, you say, and I'm done speaking.
Why, thank you. I may call on your mother, though, because this is... Joe, have you ever had a death in your family?
Well, my father died when I was 4. So,
oy, gewalt. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't remember that well, but my mom did say that when she told me about it, I think I started shouting and screaming and, I don't know, hitting and saying, take me to him, I'll make him better. I believe that that's what I said. But I don't think I was able to make him better, by the way.
No. How did he pass?
It was a tragic accident. It was a motorboat accident, freak accident. 33 years old, prime of his life, set out without a care in the world and didn't come home.
Wow. Yeah. I had a great uncle, Laurie, who my mom, I never met. He died well before I was born. And my mother would talk about him. He was on Lake Superior. I think he was on a yacht, and he dove off the side. And somewhere between the dive and the hitting of the water, he died. And they never found his body because Lake Superior is a big body of water. And so, yeah, that was a huge story in the family that, and my sister was actually named after him. So it obviously resonated. I think a lot of a person is in the how they die, because, like what you were saying about your father is, without a care in the world. And he went onto the water and he just didn't come back, and those are the things that you go, wow, traumatic for the family, absolutely horrific for a 4-year-old. But if you're that person, there's, one hopes there wasn't a huge amount of pain or whatever. So I've been thinking a lot about the way in which we pass and becoming very conscious of it being this enormous opportunity to solidify the brand that you were during your lifetime, right? So when my husband Nori passed a fortnight ago, I really took a long look at his life because I knew that he had lived so many lives within his life. And I thought, what is the proper way to recognize him and to celebrate his life? And I have a long history with death, Joe. I've been part of the Hefra Kadesha, and I also worked heavily in AIDS. During the initial outbreak, I knew Larry Kramer, and, before he passed, all these people, very focused on how can you be there with people as they pass? Because as you know, in Judaism, there are 2 times that you have to be with a person. One of those times is during a marriage. The other time is during a death. And those are the most critical times that you have to be with a person. And so because they are such critical definers in your life, I think, when you're getting married, you're taking on this other person's brand and your role within that and all of the rest of it. And then when you pass, it's kind of like this summation of life. Nori died very abruptly. He did not die of COVID. He drowned in his own blood. Okay, so he literally bled to death. I had nothing to do with it. There were no wounds, honey. Yeah, exactly. You're like, ooh. But he essentially, many of his blood vessels had scarred on his liver, and all blood goes through the liver. And when it can't go the usual motorways, if you think of a motorway in your mind and you see the trucks driving down it, that's the blood. And as a liver becomes more and more ill, it builds up this scar tissue and blockages, but the blood still tries to get there. It's like this magnetic force. So if it can't go there, it's like it's got a GPS saying, turn right and go down this country road. So all of this blood that was coming out through his body was going on to the country roads and the tributaries that couldn't hold that volume of blood. And so they were collapsing left, right, and center. And that's how he bled to death. I had no idea this was going on. And my daughter came downstairs and she was like, Mommy, I thought Daddy was attention guessing, but I really think something's wrong with him. He's been vomiting blood for like the past couple of hours. And I was like, oh, really? And she's like, yes, mommy, I think you need to take him to the hospital. So, if your child speaks, listen. First rule. So I went upstairs and he had turned this glorious green, and I rushed him to the hospital. He was there for 4 days. They gave him back to me. And I was like, okay, honey, what's going on? Because as you guys know, you can't accompany anyone into the hospital these days. You've got to kind of take them to the ER, say, this is my precious loved one, and leave them there. And so I would get intermittent phone calls from him saying, Rose, they've got me 5 units of blood and they're putting that through me. And, but I knew from my horrible year of health issues this past year that if they keep you in the hospital right now for over like 3 days, something is seriously wrong with you. And they kept him for 4 to 5 days, gave him back to me. He stayed upstairs, sent in his food orders to me. I got them to him. And then about 2 o'clock on the Wednesday in the morning, he called for me. I was down here because I wanted to let him sleep, and he was having such a problem sleeping. And I went up, and he said, Rose, I'm vomiting blood again. And I said, something to the effect of, okay, get up, let's go to the hospital. And he said, not yet, hon, not yet. Just, this might calm down. And I said, well, look, I'll sleep next to you. And if at any point in time you want to go, you let me know. I'm here. And I remember him getting up and moving about, and I'd lean over and I'd go, you okay? You okay? You're up. Are you all right? You feeling okay? And there had been a huge storm here. We had 5 to 8 inches of snow. And I said to him, look, when I take Ari to school, it's a late day. I'll take you to the hospital at the same time. I said, because you've got to go. This is not good. You're still vomiting blood. And I mean, blood. And I called the ambulance, and because he turned to me and he said, honey, I don't think I can walk down the stairs with you again this time. I'm not going to make it down the stairs. And I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, I'm sitting up, I'm seeing lights and all the rest of it. And so I phoned the ambulance, and they came, and it was probably the most expensive shoveling project that I've ever had, because the guy had to shovel his own way in. He was like, you haven't shoveled the walk. I'm like, my husband's upstairs vomiting blood. Get off my arse, It was so ridiculous. And they took him out, and on the way out, our daughter said to him, she said, Daddy, I love you. And she gave him a big hug. Baruch Hashem, Joe. Baruch Hashem.
I'm giving you a hug.
He went to the hospital. I take the hug. Thank you very much. He went to the hospital, and I took her to school. And as I'm driving back, I get a phone call. And they're like, hello, is this Miss Cameron? Your husband's here at the hospital. Are you aware of that? And I'm like, of course I'm aware of that. I said, I phoned the ambulance. And the guys had said to me, do you want to come in with us? And I said, why? You won't let me in the ER, which is standard COVID procedure. And they said to me, you need to come to the ER. And I said, but I can't come to the ER. You won't let me in the ER. I've spoken to the doctor. The doctor would like you to come to the ER. Alarms, right? Alarms. And I said, okay, went to the ER, and they start talking to me about airlifting him. Now, my darling friend Neil Saunders, who died a few years ago, was airlifted after a horrible car accident that he had. And that cost over $30,000. Wow. And I'm sitting here in the room. I'm honest to God, no joke. I'm like, airlift, death. Cost of airlift, death. It's so bad, but it's human, right? I'm like, 30,000. Could I liquidate this, that, and the other thing? Yeah, I could. Okay, you can airlift him wherever he needs to go. And then the doctor came in and he said, do you mind if I sit down? And no doctor sit down. Doctor sitting down is a bad sign, right? And I said, please do. And he said, we're not airlifting your husband anywhere. He won't make it. He said, your husband's critical. We're just making him comfortable right now. And he's not going to make it. And that horrible voice inside of my head went, no airlift. You know, it was so dark. But
the decision is now simple.
Yeah, I just have to be there. I just have to show up, right? And so then you have to show up with as much nobility as possible. And you know, as a Jew, as you know, I've been a member of a Hever Kadesha. For those who aren't familiar with that, we're the caregivers of the dead. We wash the dead. We make them ready for burial. You wrap them in a shroud. You talk about them during the death. So I kind of had my primer, you know, Joe. And I went in, and funnily enough, the first thing I looked at was the bins. And they were absolutely overflowing. With all the work these people had done to save my husband, right? And I turned to the nurses and I said, thank you so much for how hard you fought to keep him alive. And I sat down with him. He wasn't there, right? But he was at peace. You could see he was at peace. They were keeping him alive with the ventilator. And I sat there with him and I said, baby, it's okay. You know, he was on good terms. He had done a lot of work on himself. And I said, it's okay. We love you. Ari loves you. I love you. I'll make sure your family knows about this, that everything's taken care of. You can go. Please don't hang around for me. And the nurse came and said, you know, and it was very sweet. I mean, that they allowed me in there. B, that they all came around and they circled his bed. I had the nurse and the doctor and Misty, who was, she was the kind of mental health person there to make sure I didn't totally lose my shine. And I just wanted to show you this, Joe. This is the letter they sent me afterwards. And because I thanked them so hard, you know, it's not fun working that hard on a person who dies. I mean, success is life to these guys. So success to me was that my husband was treated with respect, and they treated him with great respect. They cleaned him up. They put him in a room. They said, you can stay with him for as long as you want. It was a blessing. It was such a blessing. He was 49 years old, Joe. He was 49. And I called my daughter's school. I got the counselor at her school and her teacher and my mother to go pick her up, for them to tell her there at the school so she knew where she was going. She was brought to me, very much against Jewish custom. I had her come in and say goodbye to her father, because he looked so peaceful. It wasn't like this had been some god-awful accident. He looked peaceful. I allowed her to say, you know, goodbye so she could see him, so she wouldn't be afraid of death. Death just is. You know, it just is. So she did that. And funnily enough, the coroner came up. He's like, hi, I'm the coroner, Mr. Scott, I think his name, or Mr. Steve. I'm like, hi. And he's like, your husband was here like last week, right? And I'm like, yeah. He said, well, we knew what was wrong with him. So do you want to avoid doing an autopsy? And I said, oh God, could we? I said, I really, you know, because you think, this is the body you've slept next to for 20 years, right? This is the person whose children you've born. This body, although it is now just an empty vessel, still has so much, right? And so I said, yeah, let's not do that autopsy. That's really gross. And I got on the phone with I asked my mom, I said, Mommy, you know, Baruch Hashem, I had my mother there with me, and she's my rock. I love my mother. And I said, Mom, who do I phone? You know, where are you booked in? Because she's 85 years old and she's been dying for the past 20 years. So I was like, so where are you booked in? And she said, Coke's funeral home. And I was like, okay. And I phoned them and I explained the situation. You know something, Joe? My husband never went onto an autopsy table. He never went to the morgue. He was picked up within 15 minutes of me leaving by the funeral home and put into their place. And they took beautiful care of him. They went and they did the utmost that they could to be respectful of him, including, and this was really interesting, the Norbert identified, and he came out with this just less than a year before he died, that he identified as a she, and a lot of his drug abuse and his alcohol abuse through his life had been tied into a shame around that. Yeah, there's my beautiful guy. God, can you believe that hair, Joe? I mean, that's some serious hair. But yeah, he was so beautiful. This was at our wedding. That's with his mum, where he got the hair from, obviously. This was at Souk Harbor House on Souk, Vancouver Island. And that's him at our old home. He was so beautiful. If you've got the shot of him doing gardening, I mean, that's just full on stunning. I mean, a really gorgeous man. And he worshipped the ground I walked on. He really did. He was an incredible pain in the arse, but he was a genius. And he, about, as I said, half a year ago, came out and said, Rose, I identify as a she. I've always identified as a she. I've been fighting this my entire life. And I said, well, sweetie, don't fight it. It's who you are. That's fine. I don't mind. You know, we've been with each other all this time. Of course, his spending on clothing went up astronomically. And when I came back from the funeral home, I was looking through his clothes because he was still wearing that horrible garment. And this man loved fashion, okay? And I'm digging around in his stuff, and I found this gorgeous outfit, handmade white linen kind of lounging outfit that had cost £210 that he had hidden from me. And I was like, damn straight, I'm not giving that to anybody.
We could have at least shared it.
Well, no, because he was so much tinier. I'm a big woman, Joe. He was like itty bitty. So I thought, you know, I'm not giving this away. It still had its tags on it. And I thought, let's send you away with just style. And so I took his clothing to the funeral home and I said, I want him dressed in this, please. And it was those beautiful linen clothes and his ladies' knickers that he loved. And I was like, you know, you said to me, I am never going to put Monica back in the closet again. Which is what he called his female self. And I thought, okay, you know, we're going to celebrate that. If that's what you wanted, sweetheart, that's what you'll have. And I told these funeral home people who were like, I said, my husband identified as a she, and these are the clothing. And I said, don't be shocked when you see the underwear. And they were wonderful. And the young woman turned to me and she said, would you like him to be identified as a female on his death certificate? And I was floored. I went, oh my God. I said, could you? I said, he would so love that. I said, look, if it's not possible, it's government. I realize they're difficult, but the very fact that she thought that and said that was tremendous for me. I was walking downstairs to go through all the accoutrements because, you know, as Jews, we kind of 24 hours wrapped in a shroud, you know, and I said, you know, he's going to be cremated. It's how they do it. He's Polish Roman Catholic. And so on the way down to look at all this stuff, and there's quite the showroom. I get a phone call from the superintendent of schools, Bob O'Donnell, who my daughter, he has been wonderful to my daughter, and my daughter was on the student council, and the school board has now incorporated Ari onto the school board because she would sit and listen to their hour-long meetings. And Bob said, Rose, I just heard about Nori. I'm so terribly sorry. Bob O'Donnell went to his funeral. He went to the mass. So I got to pick out all the stuff. His mother and his father are these old school Polish people. And they were like, okay, can you take photographs of him? And I was like, Jew, he's dead. Yes, could you take photographs of him, please? So they like these sort of, so I have dead photographs of my husband on my phone, which is so strange because when you go looking for like puppy photographs, you're like, oh, okay, get past those, you know, but I haven't deleted them. It's like a superstition, right? And his mother was like, I can't make it down there. She's in Toronto. His dad's in Vancouver Island. They said, we can't make it there, but can you send parts of him to us? I'm just like, Joe, you know, in Judaism, we do not do this, right? It's just not done. You go back in the dirt within 24 hours of your death in totality, right? And I'm like going, okay, because this is how they work, not how I work, right? It's how they work. And so I have these two beautiful pieces. One is an urn, one is a heart that have some of his ashes in it. And I have no idea, Joe, absolutely no idea what bits of him are in there. I'm like, God, please don't be like your middle finger. I'm not sending like genitalia, right? This is the shit that goes through your mind, you know? I'm like, oh God, please. You know,
I have to say, you know, I mean, Tom says the gender reveal. This is a different kind of gender reveal, by the way. There was no pink or blue smoke. We didn't cause any forest fires, but Tom says the gender reveal was an unexpected twist among all other twists. The story is all about acceptance of all life brings us, even at the end, with some dark humor, but humor life. There is, Rose, you know that on the show there's always a quote, and this is the quote that I selected for you.
Yes, thank you.
This is Mitch Albom who wrote Tuesdays with Maury, by the way. Maury and Nori.
Yeah, a poodle.
Huh?
Yeah,
death
that's great.
ends a life, not a relationship, and he's living on, and you know, and his story is living on. And I was thinking as you were, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but as you were talking, I was thinking to myself, is this helpful to you? Is this valuable to you? You know, I know it's valuable to people watching, but what about you?
You know, because I'm a cultural anthropologist, this has been very good for me. It's because I'm allowed to share with others the learning, right? And the things, the watch outs, like, and to do it right, you have to kind of distance yourself from it and your own ego and all the rest of it. And I suppose if I'd been worried about what people thought about me, I wouldn't have brought those clothes in. But that's what she would have wanted, right? If I had been like unbending in my Judaism, I wouldn't have had him, you know, cremated. And that's what his family wanted and what they needed. You know, if I had issues with images of dead people, I wouldn't have taken the shots. And that's what his mom needed for closure. She hadn't seen her son for 20 years. And his dad has cancer and is dying. And it was very difficult for them not to be there, right? To be there for him. And, you know, and then at the end, when we had this gorgeous vase, he's got a great vase. He looks spectacular. His daughter.
I've never heard that phrase. He's got a great vase. And
She
has a great vase.
Yeah, she has a great vase. It's wonderful. It goes with the interior, right? She doesn't clash in any way, shape, or form. I cleared it with his mom prior to. I said, you know, this is what I'm thinking about getting. I have two choices. What do you think? And my daughter, then I had to organize the mass. And see, I'm not a mass girl. Mass, understand mass. And found the church that he went to, spoke to the priest. He was amazing. And then they turn around and they go, so do you want to videotape that? And, you know, Jew. It's like, oh, for God's sake, you know, this is the sanctified environment. You don't know. And I thought, oh my God, his parents. And I said, yes. And they said, do you want to do the obituary? We'll write it for you. I said, oh no, I'll write it. There is no one who is touching this. This man is far too complex to be dealt with by anybody else. So I wrote the obit. I had them place it in the newspaper. These little rituals mean so much. This is the closing chapter, right? It's got to be done. The images, it's all about that final brand, you know, affirmation of who this person was. And then Ari said, my daughter, who is 20 and she has special needs, and she said, Mommy, we've got to have a turtle there. And I was like, what? And she's like, one of his stuffed turtles. So Norbert, on top of everything else, collected stuffed turtles. Loved turtles.
Well, of course. I mean, I think people knew that. I mean, I think people could just surmise that the only thing missing from this beautiful story was a stuffed
turtle. There you from the Nature Conservancy of all things. And so here we go into this huge church with, you know, the dead guy on the cross above, you know, and not mocking that's how they worship, right? And I'm like, oh, how do I feel about this? Doesn't matter. And, you know, there were the flowers. I had gone to Avant Garden here in State College and spoken to the lovely owner and said, he's like, so how much are we going to spend? Are we going to spend 100? I said, more. He's like, 110? I'm like, no, he was all jazz hands. Bring her up. I said,
because you know what you would have said is we saved 30,000 on the airlift. So
exactly.
We have a wide range between $100 and 30,000. Knock yourself out.
Exactly. You know, just keep going up. So the flowers, just in case anybody was interested, were 175. And they were over the top, big flowers. And we had the photograph of him with the orangutan from when we went to the Myrtle Beach Safari, which cost me a fortune, by the way. And then, so I thought, okay, I'm getting all of the use out of this that I can possibly get. And this massive stuffed turtle on the table, this priest doing this full talk about Norbert with this huge turtle. And one of my friends who I sent it out because I thought, this is so macabre, this is so grotesque, but it is the world we're living in right now. And I said, I sent out the video to friends, and this one friend said, when the priest gave Ari back the turtle and she hugged it and started crying, I lost it. And so, you know, at the end of that, and all of these people came from the school board, all of these people, you know, the friends of his I didn't know. I mean, I was literally driving around in my car because I didn't know his friends and his phone was locked. Going to like the place where he used to buy all of his booze and walking in and saying, hi, you know, the bulk buyer of all your alcohol, he's passed. Would you like to come to the funeral? And my millennial friends who are my darlings, like Christian Baum, who's here, you know, they are using COVID to have their children And so these people who I am so close with and I love so dearly were all like, Rose, I'm so sorry, but this could become a super spreader event, so we can't come. And Christian, who is incredible, his father, like your father, passed when he was pretty young, has this list of things that he does for people. And he said, Rose, please select from this list. And I just thought, how wonderful, right? That he has created this list that he shares with people. And by the way, Christian, you still have to put my shelf up. But, and also Grubhub. I was given a shocking amount of money in Grubhub gift cards because people can't bring food to your home. So Grubhub loves me right now. I'm keeping half of the food places open right now. And all of my neighbors have kind of come over with cards, with cookies, with all of this stuff. It's really amazing being in a small town like Bullsburg, which, by the way, is where Memorial Day started, in the graveyard just 2 blocks down from me, right? They were so respectful and glorious, and they've been shoveling my walk and doing all these wonderful things. And my heart just goes out to all these beautiful people who show up at times like these.
Rose, how about this? This episode brought to you by Grubhub. There we go. I like to come up with...
Oh, yes, Grubhub and Roots. I'm eating lots of Roots for your health stuff, But yeah, it's been so unusual.
Rose, I don't know where to start, but I'll tell you where I will finish, which is this was, as you said, what is a good death now? This was a good death because it was a good life, because it was a great relationship. And because, you said something at the beginning. You said to me, a lot of people is in the how they die. But in many respects, it is the how and the story in these unprecedented times that certainly did not define your husband, did not define her, but has created this insanely unique and original bridge. And the story, it has everything. It has triumph, it has tragedy, it has closure, it has respect. I loved what you said. Success is defined by respect. It has the ability for you to have seen all the work that went in, how much they tried. It is in your daughter saying goodbye and closure, which is so important. It is letting go. And it is in the fabulous fashion that remained as well. There was everything. And we still got an opportunity to plug Grubhub.
Absolutely.
So it was all inside. And we didn't even get to discuss an iota of marketing. How about that? We didn't need to.
Chewy, though, can I, with regards marketing, Chewy, we had an order with them that had disappeared. It was actually under a pile of snow, and I wasn't aware of it. I contacted them and said, look, my puppy's dad has died, and I can't find this food or this puppy order. They sent another order to me free. While I was waiting for that to get to me, I discovered the original one under this dune of snow. And then the flowers from Chewy arrived with the card that says, we're so sorry for your loss, etc. This is chewy.com, the pet place. And so I phoned them back and I'm like, I am so sorry. I have found the box. It's under this thing of snow. And I said, so I've got my credit card here. Let me pay for the next shipment. And they're like, no.
I love that. As I said, this is about humanity at the end of the day. Rose, I want to give you a chance to do a couple of quick shout outs. It's almost, the good news is we're not done talking. We're going to the Zoom after show. And for those of you that have been following and are part of this wonderful, beautiful episode of Corona TV, come join us for another 30 minutes on bit.ly/CoronaTV after show. Rose, you wanted to do a few shout outs. One of them is to all of the local independent retailers that have kept the USA going.
Yep.
You wanted to send a little shout out to your community in Bowlesburg, Pennsylvania, who just keep picking up my ass when I fall down. Love you guys. And also, we've spoken about dogs and turtles and Chewy, but also you're working with, I guess, Purina. You want to just tell us quickly about this?
Sure. The Purple Leash Project, they just started it, and it is all about ensuring that shelters for abused people can take their dogs there, because very often the dogs are not accepted. The cats are not accepted. These are their best friends. This is their support. And they're used by the spouses or whomever is abusing them as a way to get them back. So I think it's a very powerful charity. And so I just wanted to share that with everybody.
That's awesome. And, just to only because I think it's going to be ridiculously funny is this week's Corona question is the following. Rose Cameron, what is the future of capitalism?
Oh, yeah. I mean, now for something completely different, right? I think that really...
It took you 1 hour and 2 minutes to get to this damn question?
Exactly. Did I talk that long? Sorry. There's a free therapy.
Wait till you get the invoice.
Here. So I think the future of capitalism, it has become so dirtied by a recent president, the association, that now we're just going to talk about entrepreneurism, right? That's what it's really all about. But what it is also saying is the importance of local, right? And how much we don't want to be dependent on large, unsustainable, but local and sustainable has really been driven home during COVID, because these long supply chains that wrap halfway around the world, I'm actually seeing in our business that people, large corporations are pulling back their ordering process by 2 to 3 months, because they need that time to deal with the supply chain that is just bending under the weight of everything that's happening in the world right now. So local is going to become huger than it's been before. And all of those sustainability conversations are really happening right now, and a greater collaboration between major vendors than I've ever seen before in my life. And I've been doing this now for almost 30 years. So, yeah.
I do love this idea that the future of capitalism is entrepreneurship or entrepreneurialism. I do also love the fact that even what Chewy did was the ability to be flexible, to show that humanity, to venture outside the guidelines and the governance could be a form of entrepreneurship. It's because it is the opposite of capitalism, at least in the definition of maximizing profit, right? And this is something where you do the right thing that does not necessarily add to any lines, but reads between the lines. Rose, it has been an absolute honor. As I said, it's an honor and a privilege. It is humbling on National Be Humble Day to hear your story, and to offer the light that, as you have done, to so many people that haven't had that light in their lives or have had to go through similar experiences. I'm sure not quite as unique as yours, but without the light and without some of that connection as well. So, it is, I've just heard from Chuck Norris, who said he has no hesitation whatsoever in being able to declare that you
are Chuck Norris approved.
There you go. Let's head to the Zoom after show. Come and join us. Bye-bye, everyone.
Excellent. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching Corona TV with your host, multiple author, and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. Corona TV is the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing. The after show on Zoom starts right now at bit.ly/Corona TV After Show. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show at coronatv.show. And if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, text Corona TV to 66866 or visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.